Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. Super excited to meet you all. And yes, as everybody joins in, I'm just going to take a moment to say a big thank you to all of you for taking out time from your busy schedules and being here with us. And now, a very formal good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the exciting live discussion on driving employee productivity and satisfaction in 2022 with the right HR tech, curated by Economic Times HR World and Darwin Box. My name is Soumya, and I will be your host for today's session. In today's rapidly changing business ecosystem, the fundamental questions are to help employers set sustainable goals for profitable change while cultivating a better employee experience. In this session today, we're going to learn about how organizations are taking steps to overcome challenges and create a sustainable workplace in 2022 and beyond. So, without any further ado, I am super elated to welcome the dynamic panel of speakers for this intriguing and a promising session. Please put your hands together for Ajay Bhatt, President, Global Human Resources, Intas Pharmaceutical Limited, Biswaroop Mukherjee, Head HR, Commercial Vehicle Business Unit, Tata Motors, Jasmeet Bhatia, CHRO, Thermax Limited, PT George, Vice President HR and Admin, VGuard, and Captain Wade Singh, Director, Implementation, Customer Success and Strategic Partnerships, Darwin Box, as the session moderator. Captain Wade is a director and part of the leadership at Darwin Box. He drives growth and operations for 4 geographies, including parts of India, the Middle East, and Africa. He comes with 17 plus years of prolific experience in the HR and HR technology space and passionately propagates practices that enable effective HR technology transformations. So sit back and learn from the HR leaders on the panel who will share insights into how to build productivity and satisfaction by engaging their workforce. So without any further ado, the frame is for all yours. And Captain Wade, over to you.
Thank you, Soumya. Thank you very much. And once again, a warm welcome to all our participants who have taken time out on a working day, afternoon, and be here with us for this wonderful session. Before we move into the session, I would like to just round by round go to all our panelists and request them to introduce themselves in brief. Let me start with the first window onto my right. Hey, Biswaroop.
Hey, hi, Captain Ved. How are you? Hello everyone. I'm Biswaroop Mukherjee. I head the human resources for the commercial vehicle business unit of Tata Motors, and it's a pleasure to be here amongst all of you.
Hey, welcome, Biswaroop. Hey, Jasmeet, would you like to go in next?
Sure. Thank you. Thanks, everyone. And my name is Jasmeet Bhatia. I head HR for Thermax Global, based out of Pune. And it's an interesting discussion to get into post-lunch. So looking forward.
Thanks, Jasmeet. Thanks for joining us. Hey, Ajay.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Ajay. I work as President Global HR for Audits, based out of Gujarat. We are internationally. Thank you. Nice to be on the panel.
Welcome, Ajay. Hey, George.
Hi, all. I'm PT George. I'm heading HR in VGuard Industries Limited.
Welcome, George. So fantastic. And as our participant numbers is also growing, let me take a few minutes to share just a little about what we do as Darwin Box, and then we quickly jump on to the topic of the day. So a wonderful topic for the day: driving employee productivity and satisfaction in 2022 with the right HR tech. As we move into the session, I wanted to share something that we're really proud of and taking a few minutes and sharing about Darwin Box with you. We started this journey about 6 years back with the thought to transform how the HR technology and people interface happens, especially with a focus on the enterprises. And in this short journey, we're really proud to share that we are the highest rated HCM globally on the Gartner platform. That is with a rating of 4.8 and over 230 peer reviews from the user organizations, and taking us to 4.8, which is probably 30 basis points higher than the best global platforms next to us. We also became the first SaaS company in 2022 to turn unicorn. And it all happened because of your love and the love from the business leaders and HR fraternity. We today have over 650 global customers and serving organizations from the largest conglomerates in Asia to the leaders in their respective segments, and to share more than 20 unicorns from the country and Asia are on the Darwinbox platform. It's a platform which is agnostic to the different types of industries, taking care of growth at a fast pace on one side, as also the traditional practices on the other side, and taking the both segments together into the future of world. How we do it is through a unified HCM platform, which is mobile first, covering the complete employee lifecycle from an end to the other. This is something that we take pride in as to how we have been building the HCM platform from India for the world and taking the technology to the next levels in the HCM space. Especially so, like being a mobile first platform, and when we worked with a lot of modern organizations, they pushed us, or they pushed the boundaries to move this complete HCM space from focus only on the enterprise features to consumer grade features, which they were used to. And today you see that most of the HRMS platforms are moving in this direction. Without taking more time, quickly jumping into today's session, to my fellow panelists, we have seen last 2 years have been really transformative in terms of both how the practices have moved, as also how the things have been in the HR space in terms of practices, as also the usage of technology. We all agree whether the pandemic is over or no. I think none of us can be sure at this point in time. But yes, what the pandemic has given is a boost and a kind of a booster dose to the adoption of technology in the work world. In terms of the last 2 years, we've also seen the productivity, which is the value which is delivered or created efficiently, moving from one end to the other. We would like to come to our panelists and pick up their views as to whether they have witnessed this productivity move northwards or probably other way around, and what are the factors that have contributed to this change. I would like to quickly come to my panelists one by one, and starting with Jasmeet. How did you see, Jasmeet, in terms of how the productivity has moved recently, as also like how are you currently measuring it, and are there any changes in those patterns of measuring productivity that has come in?
Thanks, Captain Wade, for hosting the discussion and kicking this off. I think productivity as a topic has many layers to it, and you can keep peeling and keep going into how a company is measuring it, how we're looking at productivity. If I could touch on just one or two topics, I think COVID clearly taught us some basic things like work is not a building we go to, work is what we do. And I think with taking away the travel time, taking away the time we used to take to get ready in the morning, if we just take the variable of time, there was more time available. And productivity, I think, would go upwards for companies which were focusing on outcomes. But it would be a different view if companies were focusing on X number of hours employees staying online. So I think it's it is connected with what you're really measuring as your success measure for productivity, and that kind of gives you what you really get from it. Of course, there are exceptions like factory setups where you have to have a certain number of workers at a certain time. There are no two ways about it, and the productivity in the traditional sense continues to work there. But I think in the remote setup, we've had great examples of employees using their bandwidth to be very, very productive. But it's come with its own set of challenges also, which I think a lot of us are aware. So I think very interesting direction that we are all moving into.
Oh, fantastic. So in fact, even the I was just looking at certain data points, and one of the survey which was covering as to how the responses of people in terms of what distracts them at work changed, and resonating to what Jasmeet just said. This is one of the survey from a pre-COVID era where people said that the loud colleagues are the biggest distraction, and probably majority of them wanted to work alone for a large part of the day to hit maximum productivity. And about 40% came up that impromptu meetings from colleagues or co-workers stopping by their workplace is one of the major distractor. To the survey, which is done somewhere in September, last year, where 35% think that there are too many distractions, not at work, but at home. And this is probably a reflection of the quantum of people who have moved from work from office to work from home era. 27% employees, and this is something that we'll also talk about as we move forward, feeling lonely working from home. They miss their colleagues, and 46% came up that they think there are too many planned meetings that hamper their productivity. At the same time, some of the things didn't change. So even though this changed, what didn't change is that about 90% in both the surveys said that employees daydream in meetings. Coming to our next panelist, Biswarup, working in the at Tata Motors commercial vehicles, and it has been a great year, I think, of wonderful revival in terms of the industry and how you have moved. In terms of productivity, what changes did you see in the last 2 years, and how is it moving, and how are you keeping a close track on this productivity?
Yeah, I think thanks, Ved, for the question. So I think, like Jasmeet said, there are two broad horizons in this productivity discussion. One is operations, which even in the COVID era and the pre-COVID era has been working from the plants, from their place of work. So there is no change in the way we look at productivity pre-COVID or post-COVID for operations, right? So be it the work content reduction, be it lean manufacturing, be it Kaizen, all are equally relevant before and after when it comes to operation. When it comes to white collar productivity for non-operations job like engineering, like corporate functions. So this engineering corporate functions, these jobs which are more so these jobs which are more working out of offices largely, these jobs have, I would say the jury is still not out there, because we are probably working more hours, we are probably being in meetings more, but are we being more effective? You can have discussions on both sides. You may actually debate, one party can debate that yes, because we are working longer hours, because we are saving the commuting times, I am being more productive. But are we being more effective may not be also there is a relevant point, because when COVID happened, a lot of the leaders and lot of and rightly so, they started communicating with their teams more often, also taking stock of situations on ground more often. Some of these habits have remained with us. So if you notice, every organization today, the meetings are happening more than it was in pre-COVID era, because the leaders also got used to having these review meetings, which they were doing in COVID times to take stock of business realities, because there you cannot travel, there you cannot meet, and hence you need it. And also you have to keep the flock alive together during this, a situation of despair. You will need to meet them more often to give them that things will work out. Look at the situation when we were in, when we really didn't have the anything moving for 2 months, when a complete lockdown was happening. We used to meet our teams regularly, right? So that is so on engineering, corporate functions which work largely out of offices, I would say we'll have to wait and watch for the productivity. For sales, customer care, all these functions which go out in the market, that's the third category, you know who go out in the market and who are actually meeting consumers. There I can say that there is a change, because today sales platforms are becoming digital. Today online calls are happening online. Today people are meeting customers online in a hybrid approach, to say. So there is a reduction in time of meeting customer, which you were having previously to go and travel all the distance. I'm not saying they are not traveling at all, they are traveling, but instead of 5 times traveling, I'm doing 2 times meeting over Teams or Zoom, and 3 times I'm going and traveling. So there definitely there must be a productivity increase, but yet to be established, yet to be really seen that how much has moved. But I see a very high chance of their digital and hybrid creating a lot of difference. So that's my view.
I think a great point, like the sales team being able to save more time out of travel back to the real work through technology. I think that must have been a great piece for them. As also, I'm sure there are many examples. Like I would like to move to George. Certain special initiatives that you felt, boosted the productivity during this period, or probably were the highlights of helping the workforce becoming more productive during this period.
Yeah, thanks, Dave. My preliminary views on when we talk about productivity is that we should take care of work and work-life balance. Both are important. And when employee well-being is being talked about, uh, well-being is the major subject in job postings since 2019. For 147% was for well-being, and another 83% on flexibility. So you look at it when we talk about globally also, now the trend is people are talking about well-being of employees. That's on one side. And there is a LinkedIn survey also shows that the work-life balance is top priority with the 63%. And compensation benefit is only 60, and colleagues and cultures are 40%. And similar is a survey on there are 1,111 professionals in India. Shows that 30% of them leave their current job due to poor work-life balance. So these are all talking about the work-life balance is very important when we talk about the productivity. And what we have observed during the period, as Jasmeet was talking, the 53 minutes is being spent on commuting time for coming to the office. Since the lockdown, we are effectively saving on an average 53 minutes per day. This means that our efficiency to a greater extent just extended. So when I was talking to some of the people, they were saying earlier it was Monday to Friday, 9 to 6 period. Now Monday to Friday has gone stretched to Saturday, Sunday. 9 to 6 has stretched to maybe 10 to 14 hours a day also. Nobody is pushing them. Nobody is persuading and pressurizing them to extend the working time. But they enjoy the time, and but it is also expanding. The time is expanding, which means that the output also is coming. And one more observation, what I have seen is that there is much more discipline in meetings during the lockdown time. So earlier, we will have physical meetings. People will be waiting outside. Another meeting will be happening inside. So it could be stretched longer. But now in meeting rooms, there are reminders coming. People are waiting. People are hard stop and then move to the next meeting. So it is coming. What I have observed is, there is much more discipline in meeting is also coming. These are all points, which is directing towards a better productivity and better efficiency for people in various organizations. That's what I would say in the initial comment.
So Ajay, like we've seen, pharma industry, though they were, or in fact, the complete healthcare sector, though they've started slightly late in terms of the technology adoption, where most of the business was linked to trust and connect. However, there is a leap that we have seen in the recent past. Any specific organizational practices and facilitations that you could extend to make their transition easier, faster? Would you like to share that?
Yeah, thank you. Very happy to share something about pharma industry and then very specific. So, transition, as what Vishnu said, we have three categories of employees. One are R&D scientists and the manufacturing team members. This one were the support functions, the corporate functions like HR, finance, supply chain. And the third were people who are interfacing with customers.
Ajay, I'm so sorry to barge in here, but we can't hear you very well. I don't know if it's with me or if everyone is facing that challenge.
Is it, am I clear now?
Slightly better. Maybe you'll have to speak a little louder, Ajay.
Okay. All right, is this okay?
Yeah, this is okay. Thank you.
All right. So I don't know, something has gone wrong because my two guys from the next calendar are going to come and knock at my door. So we have these three categories of employees, team members, and each had to work in a different fashion. So since Vishwarup has already explained from a automotive component, I'm not getting into the same details because more or less we are same. More or less we same. In terms of technology adoption also, see, pharma industry, if you look at, in terms of technology, we are possibly far advanced than many other industries, along with industry, because there's a lot of research and innovation which keeps on happening, but for the benefit of the patients. Simultaneously, right, that large part of our commercial, not only in India, across globe, still believes that the best way to interface with the doctors is face to face. And the reason for that is because there's some amount of science sharing which keeps on happening with them. Okay, so what has the industry done in this COVID period? That interface was not available. All of a sudden, if all of us were required to keep our employees safe, and that was a paramount interest. And in such a large geography like India, where some district was red and some was orange and some was green. I'm talking of the first COVID wave, and every day the India colors kept on changing. Large part of pharma industry, including us, moved first immediately to sending the hi, hellos, and good mornings to the doctors on those WhatsApp SMSs, which everybody, WhatsApp groups were created. A lot of such things were called digitally to begin with. Okay. And that by now has evolved into a very strong digital connect with the customers, where the customers are able to, the doctors are able to understand what kind of products and therapies we have, what is the advanced information which we have. The sales rep who wants to go to meet the doctor is able to say, what will be the doctor? He is giving a lot of inputs in advance in terms of which doctor is going to meet, what is his persona, what is his liking, what did he prescribe earlier. There's a huge amount of support to the sales professional when he goes into the chamber from the doctor. The doctor has a lot of information about the products and service and even the real world studies which we are conducting, many of us. And all that is now available in a very sophisticated platform to both the doctors and the sales force, so that the reduced quantity of interaction. Earlier they were meeting them 2 times in a month or 3 times a month, or is once in a month. But that reduced interaction is now of a superior quality, which will definitely help the patients to do that. So that's one. That's how the pharma industry and INTAS of office moved along that very fast adoption of technology in this particular one. I have many other examples, but I'll keep quiet because otherwise too much of time. Over to you. Thank you.
I think healthcare has done some wonders in the last 2 years, and the pharma industry as well as the doctors coming forward in a great way. So I feel in terms of technology adoption, and that was a common theme coming in, has moved things forward and they look brighter, but probably the real measures are yet to happen. Just for our participants and for our panelists, just all participants, please feel free to share your questions in the Q&A section here. We would be happy to take these questions at any stage, during the webinar. Please feel free to share your questions in the Q&A section below. Coming to probably the second part of our today's discussion, where we wanted to talk about the employee satisfaction. And we all know the Great Resignation, it was the highest trending word in the third quarter of 2021. Just some of the facts from one of the research that was done. The monthly resignation rate in the month of August 2021 at about 2.9% was the highest. And in the August 2021, it reached the peak. That was the highest ever in the history. There was another interesting thing that came in is the gender-wise attrition. That is, the percentage change of women attrition was higher than the men. And so it was not only people moving from one organization to another, they were also hitting some wonderful initiatives that have been taken by organizations in terms of bringing gender balance into the organizations. And there was research that was done by McKinsey in the month of November 2021, where they found that 40% of employees stated that they're likely to change the jobs in the coming 3 to 6 months. That is, and this 3 to 6 months, that means the current period, we still see that there are a lot of, and this is a jump from what they say, around 28 to 30% to 40% in this period. So a lot of focus the organizations shifted during this period to arrest this Great Resignation or convert it into the Great Attraction. And rightly so, as people were leaving, they were also joining organizations. Coming to our panelists, in terms of certain things that they did or some of the practices that they adopted, which gave wonderful results, would love to come to Mr. George to start with. Some of the practices that you could adopt in the recent past and which tilted this balance from great attrition to maybe the great attraction.
Yeah, definitely. We constantly work towards bringing employee experience. So any unique practice will lead to employee delight and experience. That's what we believe. So that's what we were doing also. So when the government banned biometric punching 2 years back, when the beginning of the COVID lockdown period, so we thought that maybe 1 or 2 months there will be disruption, and then we will reopen factories and offices. And people started asking, when you restart your offices, you would like to have some system, automatic system, so that the attendance marking can be made simple. So we thought since punching may be a doubtful case, biometric will be questionable. We thought of providing some proximity card to address the issue. And by the time our people have come out with a suggestion on geotagging, and with some program on the mobile, you are able to mark your attendance on your mobile itself. You don't have to touch the biometric machine. You don't have to be in the queue. You don't have to be wasting time at the entrance of the factory or office. So this way, when we introduced this system for our employees across the country, what we have seen is that the people are returning their cards, and then they said, no, this is very beautiful system. We would like to go into the geotagging on the mobile app itself. So that is something which we have experienced. And similar to that, we have the onboarding was a real experience. and we keep improving on that. And then when we send an appointment letter on the first day of the employee joining, and immediately once he read it, accept it, it comes back with the signature on the letter, so that our documentation purpose is over. So like that, now when the initiative we have taken to on the onboarding side and all, has brought us recognition, like the ambition box rating as the best in the number one in the industry, with satisfaction to work in the organization. So that is a big recognition for the effort we have taken in bringing in technology to the HR processes. That has really helped in improving the situation. So similar to that, when it is a question of, normally people ask question whether you need a chatbot to answer your query. So we were thinking that okay, why should we ask somebody when it can be provided on your mobile, and click of a button, the information will be available on your screen. Whether it is a payslip or a Form 16 or any of the data or an employee directory, wherein across the country, any employee can be contacted on the mobile within few seconds. So this type of facility, when we are providing with the technology enabled, and it is accessible to anyone across the organization, it makes really a employee satisfaction. And when employee satisfaction is there and people are happy, they will be at their best in their performance also. That is what we have seen. So we need to have good technology coming into the operation.
Oh, fantastic. I think candidate experience goes a long way, and a new joiner's experience catapults the whole journey of an employee from the very beginning. It fast tracks the adoption and of the person into the new organization. And just to reiterate, we would love to talk to you, Mr. George, sometime again on the secret sauce that you use to be there as number one on the ambition box for the category of the organization or for that segment last year, and winning that top slot. But coming to Jasmeet, I think Jasmeet, in at Thermax also, there were some wonderful initiatives that were taken related to the the joining experience, and I'm sure you're experimenting. As we were interacting a few days back, you're experimenting with many more going forward. Would you like to share that with our participants?
Sure. On the topic of employee satisfaction, I think if you start breaking down what does it take for any individual to be really engaged and satrified in what they're doing, you get different layers of, are they connecting what they're doing with their passion? Are they finding that they're using their skill, or they're getting to learn a new skill in that? Is there growth that they're finding, either individual or career growth? Of course, there's the financial value in terms of salary increases or the right salary. People also connect with empowerment, and there are several things. I think the key that we've tried to understand is that each individual needs one or two of these things at a very high level at different stages in their life and career. And if we can match what we are providing as an organization to them at that time of their career or their life, what they're really looking for, it leads to a great satisfaction. I think this great attrition, this entire trend has been due to various factors, and there are hundreds of articles on what are the reasons why it's happened. But the point is, at any given individual, when they're looking at a change in their job, they're looking at all of these factors that I just spoke about. And if these are available as opportunities within the organization, you can really look at things differently. So that's what we've been trying to do. One of the things that we are experimenting with is that when people have done one role for 3 years, can they get a very different role in the organization? And the entire experience should be like how they apply for a job outside and they just move. You move within 60 days, new manager, new role, new set of responsibilities. And if we can create that experience within the organization, it's something that will be great. And that's what we're experimenting with these days.
Oh, fantastic. I think the boredom was one of the pieces that was also reflected in certain research pieces, where people's boredom in the similar role over a longer period of time was one of the reason that was leading for them to look out for a different opportunity. And if that gets provided within the same organization, I think an icing on the cake. Hey, Biswaroop, this again coming to one of the milestone that Tata Motors achieved was a CII award, and there was a philosophy on meaningful work, which we read briefly about in pieces. Would you like to share a little more? Meaningful work, I think it touches the chord, in terms of, getting an employee, work more closely to the mission, to the vision, to the real soul of the organization. Biswaroop.
Right. Yeah. So thanks for the question, Dr. Ved, Captain Ved. So as I mentioned, we have, been able to create an engagement framework at Commercial Vehicle Business Unit of Tata Motors. We and one of the pillars, we have created 4 pillars of engagement for our employees, and all our various subunits actually work around those 4 engagement pillars. It's around meaningful work, learning and innovation, employee care and wellness, and recognition and rewards. These are the broad frameworks that we have created under the meaningful work, because this actually stems from the various engagement frameworks which are there. Where everywhere, if you see, engagement is all about, am I enjoying the job? Am I really doing what I'm supposed to do? Am I really adding value to myself and growing myself? So it is all about what's in it for me as an employee. Meaningful work. And as younger generations come to work, as more and more millennials will join our workforce, I think this will become a key differentiator for organizations, because I should be enriched in the things that I work on. I should add value to myself and the organization both in the things I do. So to drive this, what we do is, we have, one is definitely we have various our goal audits. So we have created a mechanism of goal audits, number one. Then we also have role clarity discussions at collaboration points. So we have created role clarity documents. And also in certain collaboration points, if there is a challenge, we have a discussion around it. Also, we have created certain programs which are designed just to enable that, how the role clarity at collaboration points can be further enriched, right? Apart from that, we have various platforms, like we have something called Career Explore, where we allow employees, or we enable employees to move around the organization in various streams, so that they can apply in any job after a certain point of time, and every job is posted. So we provide them that the perspective of growth in those terms. So various things like that has been built in, be it in terms of the role, be it in terms of the goals, be it in terms of career development. All those things are built in the plank around meaningful work.
Oh, fantastic. And we would urge you to write a little more and bring more about this initiative of meaningful work into the public space, Biswaroop. I think
Sure.
a lot of us can pick from there. So a lot of organizations also brought in creative thinking into there were training programs which are being done, and how to make the same job or work more creative. So coming to Ajay, would you like to share, in case there is some initiative that is running in the organization where you're able to create more meaning in the same job during a certain period, and if that has taken off in some way?
Sure. So, I think I'll go back to the same McKinsey study which you're quoting about. And if you really look at what McKinsey found out, can you hear me now better?
Yes. And it's better.
Yeah, so I have to switch the screens. Now, the problem with the screen is the light is not good. So, but I'm not very handsome, so that's okay. The voice is better. Okay. So the same in the same article, if you look at it, the key reason of the Great Resignation is fundamental, and that's that because of all what has happened, the whole social interaction fell off. So being valued, seeing a meaning in its own work, correct? But a lot of this thing was suddenly not very visible to the employee who's also working from remote because the whole social context was lost. In our case, to some extent it was happening, to some extent it was not. So we, being in pharma and being of the attention we got and the kind of work we were doing in terms of bringing out new medicines for the pandemic relief, everything, the sense of purpose for each of the pharma employees was innate there.
Wow.
As we had already invested into technology, we were able to use our technology platform very effectively in terms of setting up a lot of communications two-way processes where real life benefit of what the work we do to the patients was being seen by our people. A. B. Being a very caring organization, we went out of the way to set up our own hospital in 2 weeks, where Intas employee was not bothered to worry for oxygen or remdesivir or anything like that. So when that happened, the feeling of being valued by the employee, and it was not only for employee, it's employee, his relative or any friends also, he said, come, welcome. We ran it through a CSR initiative. And so for that, for which actually helped us, because we didn't have to go back and collect money and do all this kind of deduction from the payroll and anything. It was plain simple. You are in distress, come into the hospital. So those are some things which we did. Now, at this time, the work process was becoming very, very fluctuating because the demands of the supply were very fluctuating. What you require today in a pharma process, you have 3-month cycle rollover to plan your demand, which was no more relevant. And that is a point of time we started introducing immersive technology to train our manufacturing and R&D colleagues in terms of the fundamentals of manufacturing. Because on one side, we have existing employees which are doing, but we also have to, because of regulatory requirements, continuing updating and validating our technical knowledge. Otherwise, we have a FDA audits and all those kind of stuff. So how do you do it with your reduced manpower? And that's where we have been using technology, where we partnered with a very progressive organization, which has brought immersive training for our technical part of, not the behavior part, which right now we are pilot testing. It is similar to a simulator-based flying, but it's a 3D concept. So for example, if we are looking at a sterile manufacturing suite, then the employees virtually wearing the virtual VR inside a sterile manufacturing suite, but he could be in this room and the room can become his sterile. That's helping to augment our development and training. So we brought in as to reduce our training workload, but in a way it has helped us to actually improve our compliance training for quality purpose significantly. So that's one of the example of many other examples which are the work. Thank you.
So I think not only the effectiveness of training probably went up, but also the time that was needed to cover the quantum of workforce would have also come down considerably. So that's a great example.
And one more thing, that whole office on a gaming basis. So there's huge amount of engagement. So when I go in the suite and I score 20 brownies, then you are behind me. So you would like to see to it that you are 22 and not 19. And that gets published on the leaderboard and there's reward and recognition, communication, whole of the other stuff around it. So one is technology immersive, but then there's a gaming which we have got fused together. So that's helping us tremendously. Thank you.
Oh, great. So I think fantastic. Some of the great ideas that we could pick. There are certain questions which are there from our participants of the webinar. So you would like to take a couple of questions. Is that good with our panel? Oh, great. So I'm picking up the first question. One of the question is from Priya Raghuvanshi. How HR tech helps in creating and achieving sustainable growth? So I think the expectation is how the bigger picture of sustainable growth is being complemented by the HR technology adoption. So Jasmeet, would you like to maybe take that question? Open the panelists, yeah.
Sure, I can take a crack at it. I don't know if I have the full answer, but HR tech has evolved from just being a system of record keeping to a much more uh, evolved tool that we are all using, and I'm using the word tool here. Some organizations have moved on with HR tech to a long distance in terms of having chatbots where they're engaging with employees, understanding how the employees are thinking and feeling. A lot of interesting things are happening. I think one of the most exciting things that I'm looking forward to in the HR tech world is the usage of metaverse, the way it is growing very, very fast. And when I look at the future that is coming towards us, besides the factory, the future strongly is indicating towards a hybrid work environment. And when you're talking about sustaining that working environment, connecting with your employees, ensuring that uh, you can create the same social experience that you used to have pre-COVID. Now you have to create the social experience in a hybrid world for employees where they feel they're part of an organization and a team. I think HR tech will play a big, big role.
Yeah.
We are trying to look at experimentation that, when remote employees are joining, can we give them an experience in some way, a virtual experience of walking through our office and being in our office instead of just looking at a screen and talking to a person saying welcome and joining. So many things coming forward in the technology.
And those big initiatives which used to be taken up a few years back, like a paperless office, they've become a thing of the past, and they're reducing the carbon footprints that we were leaving. And in addition to that, the reduction in the commuting time, or the number of days that you used to commute, it is contributing to the healthier planet, as well as reducing the carbon footprints being created by the same organization. Because the Ajay was mentioning about the trainings that are happening online. So sometimes, to give that kind of experience, we were moving people from one place to another, and maybe between cities also. So it's a lot of it is definitely adding on to the sustainability, and reducing the carbon prints that we are leaving with our activities. Let's take maybe one more question, and we move to the next interesting part of session. Uh, so this question is coming from Anushka Singh, and the question is more related to mental health. Mental health problems are more pervasive than ever, given the stressors of the pandemic and other social issues. How can leaders address this? Would bring it to the panelist. George, you want to have the first go, and then we open to other panelists as well.
It is well-being. So people are really concerned about what support will be possible on the well-being side. I remember that the people experienced during the wave 2, where the country was struggling with ICU, oxygen shortages and all. When we set up a help desk, there were spontaneous responses coming to us saying that at least, okay, now you can reach out to somebody. If I have a question, whom to ask, where to ask, which language I can ask, there was a lot of concern. So that is what the people were worried. When people are worried, we are offering a suggestion that is immediately coming back saying that at least, okay, this is what we were looking for. We did not introduce any rocket science. We introduced a simple help desk. So that is what at least, okay, whatever the system support we are able to provide, that will really impact. And when people were having the COVID situation, a lot of mental stress was also there. So we also thought of introducing, we have introduced the facility for people to counseling. So we said it is anonymous. Anybody can contact these numbers. You can get a support in your language. So when we provided such facility to the organization, people are at least feeling comfortable, because if they have an issue, where to go and whom to ask, that is a big question. So we need answers to this. These are all things coming through the wellness efforts being taken by the corporates, so that people are made comfortable, relaxed. When they are having an issue, they can go to this place. That is the direction which we were giving. That is helping.
Yeah, and we saw leaders went out of the way and took certain initiatives which were kind of first time in the history that as an organizations were stepping in that direction. And Ajay was giving that example of setting up a hospital immediately. I think those leadership initiatives probably gave a lot of confidence to the teams, and also worked as in kind of reducing the stress, as also being more open in terms of sharing the challenges, be it at home, social, or at workplace. There was also a concept of authentic leadership, which was really talked about for a large part of 2020 and initial part of 2021, where leadership was being looked at. It's not only from the scale of what professional outlook it is, but really authentic in everything that the leaders were doing. I think some of these initiatives that leaders took, be it taking those business decisions like Intas was giving an example, but also certain actions like we have seen people helping or setting up help desk within small teams also to help their teams in fighting with the pandemic. Any example any of the panelists would like to add?
Yeah, sure.
Ajay, yeah.
Yeah. No, so see, we learned a lot from pandemic, and you're right. I think the person asking question is saying, what has a leadership role to, and with all the problems of mental well-being, which is becoming very important, what is the leadership doing about it? And it's a fair question. And again, I'll go back to McKinsey. When they are talking about people feeling vulnerable, the other part, they also identified what do people want from leaders is empathy and a good amount of determination, courage to then execute what they think. The pandemic world showed to us that the time between decision and action is very short. And if you don't take that action that point of time, you lose the bus. And the damage you create by not acting is so much severe rather than damage you would have created by acting and making a mistake in good faith. Okay, so that's one. And now answering to a question on well-being, see where it has moved now. I think post-pandemic, people have become more conscious about their well-being and health. Okay, now you have a lot of data, a lot of variables, a lot of sites, Googles, and everywhere you get a lot of information. So what we have done is we launched post-pandemic initiative called iFit, Intas Fitness Campaign, very simple. But again, it is using a tech. We tied up with Strava and we had our own app linked up. And we created a whole program and buzz around that either you can walk or you can run or you can swim or you can cycle, whatever you want to do, but form your own teams. Now, teams don't need to run together. I could run in, say, Sabarmati riverfront and my colleague will run in some other garden. But we all will post our team score on one app. And there's whole competition and everything else going around it. Now, it's a physical and mental activities happening with a good amount of virtual team bonding, metaverse, to your point, which my friend Jasmeet was talking about to some extent. And we have been running this campaign for last close to 45 days. The campaign is on, somewhere close to 35% of intentions are on that campaign. Very excited, sharing a lot of things. To support them, we have counselors. So if somebody still does not want to join the campaign and feeling low, we have tied up with multiple counselors whom they can approach. And again, as PD was mentioning, we have a contract with the counselor that accept billing us with the employee session and names. We don't want any other details. And so those are the initiatives which organizations have to take. Now, my point of view is that we can't keep on waiting as in earlier eras for let us see the trend, let's see what other companies going to do, what is the industry going to do, what is the region industry, because these are the classical HR terminology we have been using to decide whether to participate in change or not. Now the situation is for leaders is that if you think something is relevant for your team members and it makes sense, please do it. You don't need to wait for others to meet an example or check from others. So that's the one thing I would suggest leaders can take initiative on. Thank you.
Great. I think fantastic summary there. Leaders need to take action without probably worrying for a precedence or probably how the practices have been all around. I think let's take maybe one more question before we move to the third section of our webinar. This question is from Venkateshwaran KS. Is there any correlation between job satisfaction and increase in productivity post-COVID hybrid work? Biswaroop, let's start with you and open to all panelists. Is there any correlation between job satisfaction and increase in productivity?
I think there is a very high correlation, because if I am really engaged in my job, I will put my heart and soul in the things I do. If I am not engaged, then I will want to just get it past the borderline or the finishing line. So I think the traditional definition of productivity is really more operational, and and it doesn't take into account incremental things like innovation, things like building new business, things like creating opportunities. Traditional productivity definitions don't take into that. They are more operation led or manufacturing led, I would say. So if you really look at all these aspects of creating a different path, creating new ways of doing the same business, looking at white space, I think if you are really engaged in your role, you are really into it, then only you will think of all these things, which will eventually lead to higher productivity and greater profitability for the organizations. So it's a no-brainer if you see, because if I'm not engaged, I will not do all these other things. I will just about do what has been told to me and get off the chair.
Oh, so pre-COVID or post-COVID, I think the close correlation between the job satisfaction and productivity continues. So,
yeah, I think we are human beings. We have both head and heart, so that doesn't change pre or post COVID.
So some of the examples related to enhancing the job satisfaction as well as how the organization cares. We've seen some fantastic examples in the last few years. Organizations moving from a very strict policies on how the attendance used to be captured to a leave which is unlimited in number. So and we've seen such interesting examples across the industry. May this trend continue. Moving to we've discussed a lot about what happened in the last few years. Coming to all panelists once again as to what are the kind of technologies do you see, coming in the next few years, or the ones that are, being tested for their adoption. We just saw this very recently. There was a news all around the first metaverse wedding in the country, and there was a Tamil Nadu couple, probably one of the most celebrated wedding recently. So what are the kind of technologies that you're looking at coming into the workplace anytime soon, and how do they look at impacting the work world?
Yeah, I think the technology play is huge that's coming our way. I think a lot of organizations have experimented with how do you move into a world where all the data is at your fingertips, going into using artificial intelligence, where chatbots can help employees solve basic queries, but at the same time give us some insights on what they're thinking and feeling. I think metaverse is a concept which is going to be the next big thing. You spoke about the wedding. I remember this episode on Shark Tank India where there was this one company pitching a concept of metaverse, and they'd created this entire virtual world of a place in Delhi called CP, where they were pitching that few friends can log in from anywhere, and in the metaverse they're walking around CP, having fun, doing whatever. I think if you look at that direction, our kids have already caught on to that. Most of our, most of us who have teenage kids, they're already in the world called Roblox, where there is gaming that is happening in the metaverse with their avatars and everything. And I think it's natural that technology will catch on to the office setup, where how do we utilize and be effective in the hybrid world where people are not in the same building. Metaverse will be the direction. So very, very exciting times coming.
So, and even recently, like you started with in terms of the technology for analytics. So the generative AI, where AI is moving beyond just picking up the numbers, but converting it into the conceivable format and structure, alongside giving subjective insights, is something which is becoming a reality. And those chatbots moving towards the the digital humans, where they're making an effort to give a human feel to and connect to the person who's attending to your queries in the digital world, is something that we are seeing coming in. Any other technology that you're toying with, or you're today experimenting with, which could come in the next few years? Ajay, Mr. George, yeah.
Yeah, no, when you talk about the new technology coming in, I would say that the great reshuffle, about 47 million Americans submitting their resignation, asking to reinventing the rules to seek remote working, flexible hours, life beyond work. These are all an indication or a alert for all of us to be mindful about what is going to happen in the days to come. We never thought that, at least we will work from home. It was something which we cannot even imagine it. Many of the corporates said 40 to 75% people will work from office. But the reality was 96% of some of the corporates were working from home. This was not dreamt in the recent past also. Maybe we look at it 1 year, 2 years back also, 6 months back also. We never anticipated that has become the reality. So similar to that, at least we should be looking at now what is going to happen tomorrow. If we say that it is okay, we'll call everyone back to the office. People will say, "I'm not coming." What do you do? Or even if we wanted to call everyone back to office, there is a social distancing. You may not be able to, absorb more than 40 or 50 or 60% people to the office.
Yeah, and so this is the reality in terms of the space constraint is becoming true for many organizations. Probably the workforce expanded, but the physical spaces remain same. So just we are at the top of the hour, in fact, of our session. Maybe picking up certain closing comments. Ajay, if we come to you for some closing remarks about the session that we just had.
First of all, it was a wonderful session. Thank you. And apologies for me switching cameras back and forth. But to me, you guys really tried to be very ambitious. You brought in 2 topics and tried to cover it. I was not sure whether you will be able to manage it, but fantastic job. I think each Jasmeet and Vishwaroop and PT did a fantastic points. We stayed very crisp and to the point. I don't know what the participant would feel, because they would have loved to have a little bit more insights on each of them. But certainly, I'm very happy with the kind of stretch which you have made us cover. Thank you very much. All the best.
Oh, great. We'll make an effort to answer these questions. But Soumya, I think we have surpassed our time. So coming back to you, handing it over to you.
Thank you so much, Captain Ved. And yes, before I say a big thank you to this amazing panel of speakers, I would love to, inform our audience that we tried covering most of these questions today. But if we haven't managed to, and after hearing these speakers, if you want to connect offline with them, please feel free to do that. And I'm sure you're going to find those answers. So thank you so much. And yes, now a big heartfelt thank you to this amazing panel of speakers. You guys were so good. I think the kind of insights that we got, the examples that we learned today were really thought-provoking. So thank you so much once again.